Good morning, children. So let's start our next chapter, chapter number 9, the living organisms, characteristics and habitats. Okay, children. So Paheli and Bujo went on vacation to many places of interest, right? They went wherever they wanted to go at many places. One such trip took them to the river Ganga in Rishikesh. They climbed the mountains of the Himalayas where it was very cold. They saw many kinds of trees on these mountains. And what all trees they saw on the mountains? They were oaks, pines, and deodar. Oaks, pines, and deodars. Okay, very different from the one near their home on the plains because they were the plant which were found, trees found on the mountains, right? In yet another trip, they traveled to Rajasthan and moved on camels through the hot desert. Okay, first they went on mountains, very cold place. Then we went to Rajasthan, very hot place. They traveled on camels. Okay, they collected different kinds of cactus plants, right, from the trip. So when you go to desert, what do you find? You find, of course, you will find the camels, right? The temperature will be very hot and the plant will be cactus, right? Finally, they went on a trip to Puri. They visited the sea beach on Puri is on beach. Dotted with casuarina tree. There is a casuarina tree in the Puri. While recollecting all the fun that they had on these trips, a thought struck them. All these places were so different from one another. Some were cold, some were very hot and dry, some places were humid. Humid means there is a lot of water around in that area. There is water body, so you will find there is moisture in the air and you always sweat in that place. That's humidity. Humidity means water in the air, moisture in the air. And yet all of them had many organisms, right? So there are different organisms who can survive in different temperature and different climates. That is why there are different types of organisms found in different types of environment, right? So organisms, that is living creatures of various kinds. They tried to think of a place on earth where there may not be any living creatures. Bujo thought of the places near his home. Inside the house, he tried the cupboards. He had thought that there may not be any living organisms here, but he found there tiny spiders in the cupboard. Outside the home, too, there did not seem to be any place he could think of that did not have any living things or any living creatures. Okay, so children, there is no place in the world where you can find no creature. Means there is not a place where there is no creatures available. Everywhere you will find some or the other creatures. Okay, of some kind or the other you would find. Paheli started thinking and reading about faraway places. She read that people have even found tiny living organisms in the opening of volcanoes. Now see, volcanoes, the temperature of volcano is so high. Nothing can survive, but still tiny organisms can survive in that temperature. Means there is not a single place where you don't find any creatures. Search for living organisms. She's searching for living organisms by Haley. Okay. Organisms and surroundings. where they live. Another thought that occurred to Paheli and Bujo was about the kind of living organisms that were present in different locations that they had visited. The desert the desert had camels, please underline. The desert had camels. The mountains had goats and yaks. Okay. Puri had some other creatures like crabs on the beach, and that too red crabs I saw there because once I went to that Puri beach, and such a variety of fish being caught by the fishermen at the sea. And then there did seem to be some creatures like ants that were present in all these different locations. The kind of plants found in each of these regions was so different from the plants of the other regions. Okay, of course, the plants were different, animals were different, everything was different because of the temperature and climate of the place. Yeah, what about the surroundings? In these different regions, were were they same? What do you think? Surroundings will be also same, no children? Yeah. So this is the activity number 1. So here they are talking about the forest, right? So if you take a different surrounding, there will be different animals found over there. So these are the examples which can be done by you. You can read it. Okay, then this 9.1 table. In the forest, animal, plants and other objects found on different surrounding. So this table you have to do, children. Okay, please do this table after this. Moving ahead, habitats and adaptations. Okay, so what do you mean by habitat and what do you mean by adaptation? What do you mean by adaptation? We all know what is habitat. What do you find from the plants and animals listed in the activity 1? Did you find a large variety in them? Yes, of course. Look at what you have entered in the column for the desert and column for the sea in 9.1. Did you list very different kind of organisms in these two columns? What are the surroundings like in these two regions? So what are the surroundings? Surrounding means the place where they live, isn't it? So children, this you have to underline. In the sea, plants and animals are surrounded by saline, that is salty water. And most of them use the air dissolved in water. Because you all know and you must be knowing that animals and plants who are staying or who are living in the salty water, because there are some animals and plants who are living in the salty water like saline water. Those, if they live in the water, how do they get their oxygen? So they get oxygen from the water only, because in the water there are dissolved oxygen present. Okay, the oxygen is always present in the water in the form of dissolved oxygen. Okay, so these plants and these animals, they take the oxygen in the form of dissolved oxygen, dissolved air in the water. Okay, there is very little water available in the desert. Okay, so before I move ahead, children, I want you to first do this activity, table 9.1. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4. Four plants or 4 animals. What kind of plants or what kind of animals are found in these areas? That you have to write. and then you have to show it to me. So quickly just write it down, finish this table, then we'll move ahead. Okay.